back. Hello, everyone. And we are excited for this episode.
Yeah. As promised, we were telling people on the last episode that we've got someone to talk about anxieties and how to deal with anxieties. And would you call yourself a well-being coach? Is that what you would, how would you explain to us? Because I know there's a lot of people are not sure when it comes to this kind of thing.
There's so many terms, isn't there, and names.
Oh, Jade Brooks, everyone. You can introduce.
Yes, Jade Brooks. So my name's Jade Brooks, and I'm officially a certified business psychologist. So I did my master's in psychology, and then I call myself, a well-being consultant, a life coach, got psychotherapy. So it could be a number of different things, but very much under that well-being umbrella.
So you're very clever.
Well, no.
So what we thought we'd give you all today is a couple of pointers. Did you say you've got how many points?
Well, it could be, I usually like to give around 5 to 6, some good ones, so you can take away. You go off on one and give too many, it becomes quite difficult, doesn't it, to digest?
Yeah. So we suggest everyone get your pens and papers, take some notes.
Because we know, personally, me and Courtney have both been through our sort of journeys when it comes to sort of anxieties and worrying and struggling and just all of that usual stuff that I know lots of people go through. I feel like as well it's become very sort of recently people are aware.
Everyone talks about it, and I feel like when everyone speaks out about it, we don't. We never ever talk about. We talk about it to each other, but we don't talk about it openly, where we should probably talk about our anxieties more openly. But because I see that everyone's doing it, I feel like everyone can take that, everyone can talk about it themselves, and I just keep mine to myself. That's what you're like as well.
Well, I think because everybody sort of diagnoses themselves now, don't they, with anxiety and stuff. So everyone's just like, oh God. Like my mum always says, anxiety is a thing, but people will just, worry about crossing the road and they'll say, oh, I've got anxiety. My mum's like, that's not anxiety. So she's like, the word anxiety is used too much now. But so when it comes to actually expressing personal anxiety and stuff, I just worry that people will be like, well, that's not anxiety, mine's worse than yours. So I don't really I don't really ever voice it or talk about it, but I definitely have my demons.
I think anxiety, you're completely right, because there's a bit of a, we went through a bit of a period where everyone was kind of like, it's okay to not be okay, talk about it. You're completely right. Nowadays, you're just crossing the road, you can have a feeling and you have that anxiety. People, oh, I've got anxiety, and that's it. It's me. But
I think that's come from social media and stuff as well, because I have a younger stepsister. She's not that young, but she's 21 or something. And I feel like they're sort of the generation that they grew up in, because they grew up in this whole it's okay to not be okay stage. Everyone's decided they're not okay. And that's, that might be, everyone's got their own things, but everyone sort of has decided to self-diagnose themselves with depression and anxiety. And my mum says to her, you're not depressed, you're okay, you're just you're just a bit sad today. But there's people that actually have it, and I think it's sort of gone the other way, sort of as opposed to years ago nobody had any of this. Now everybody's got some sort of somewhere.
I think there's a problem of labeling, isn't there? So labeling, I think there's a real problem in society with, there's so many labels flying around, everyone's got something, and everyone's worrying around. There's a lot of worry around what am I suffering from if I'm not suffering from something. So there's definitely that kind of issue with labeling and thinking that we are that label, and then kind of feeling bad about ourselves. But one in 3 people nowadays in the young adulthood group are suffering from anxiety. That's what the stats are saying. They're so high. So
Whereas I feel like when I'm feeling anxiety or depressed, I don't like to admit it to myself. I go the other way, whereas some people have anxiety and depression, they would speak out about it, which I think is amazing, because it just makes people feel like they're not alone. But with me, I hide it.
I think I've got this weird thing where I think almost some old school army thing, where it's seen as a weakness. So I wouldn't want people to think I was weak. So I wouldn't really an old school thing. I don't know.
I feel in that matter, me and Chloe are so similar when it comes to our feelings, that we bottle it up and we don't really speak out about it. We kind of battle it ourselves.
Yeah. And then is that because of your friends, like social comparison? You feel that because of social media, you need to be always okay? Or what do you think that's
I guess because on social media, you always have to act like you've got like the perfect life and you're like always so happy. But also, I don't know, I would hate to tell someone how I feel and how I'm feeling them and then say like, oh, you'll be fine. Yeah, because you know how you're feeling, and I know that I'm not fine, and I know that I probably won't be fine for the next couple of days, and I would just hate for someone to put me down, so I just keep it quiet and I battle it myself.
Yeah, also you get a lot, if I've ever like slightly spoken out about anything, we get a lot of like, oh, but your life's perfect because you know you're on TV and you earn millions and millions, which is not true, and so your life is absolutely perfect, and you know you go to all these amazing events, how could you be sad? Like, sort of, we get that kind of like reaction of people thinking we're stupid.
It's kind of like we're not worthy to have to feel depressed or anxiety, like we don't need that because we have this lifestyle.
I think there's a bit.
And I think as well, like even without like the whole TV stuff, and I think even before that, I've never been one to like, I don't like spill everything that's going on all the time. Like I don't like hold back. Like there's something big, like I had an argument with George the other day and I was telling Courtney, like I'll always like, there's something big, I'll talk about it, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel, I think I just feel silly to like tell my friends. I think as well, I've always sort of played the role in everybody's life of being the person that they come to for advice. So I'm seen as like this kind of strong person. Do you know what I mean? And so for me to then be like struggling or having issues or whatever, I kind of have like built myself up to this point where I can't be that because I'm supposed to be this like strong. I don't know.
It's true, because I always go to Claire, like, I need to rant, and then I'll send her like a voice like ranting.
Yeah, and I just have always been that person. I've sort of made myself that person with all of my friends. Like, I mean, I feel like I'm quite good at dishing out advice, but I don't actually take it on board myself.
So no one takes their own advice.
I don't listen to my advice, and I should do. Like, I completely get you. All my friends, I must have 10 conversations a day with just my friends because they think I have the answers to everything. Like, no one's immune to feeling down. It's it's to do with your brain. Like, we can do the neuroscience piece around your brain and how it works and how it takes in like information, but we all feel up and down. Like, nobody should ever feel perfect, and anxiety is not necessarily always a bad thing. It can be a good thing when you have like a threat, you know that if you're crossing the road and there's a car coming, that's a good thing because that's your response. But I think anxiety's got such a bad rep, and actually we need to kind of like break it down, work out what our triggers are, and then we can easily kind of cover that and get over it. But we do need to be honest with ourselves and realize that nobody is normal, nobody is perfect. And I think there's so many pressures, especially on your age group nowadays, than there were ever pressure-wise. There's so many pressures to be amazing, to be great, to have a perfect life, and it's just not realistic.
Yeah, social media, isn't it? Just makes you compare yourself.
Yeah, it's good and bad, isn't it? Like, there's so many good things that come out of social media, but the editing, the body image, like, so these young people growing up, they're so distorted, aren't they? Like, their mindset of who they should be, it's really sad.
Yeah. So what would be your pointers with dealing with anxiety?
There's a lot so I've tried to find the best ones, and I'll give the best ones that I think would be worthwhile. The best one, and I use it, and it's definitely the one that I think is the best coping mechanism, is to actually get those thoughts out of your brain. Use a therapy journal, a nice notebook, get a great notebook, like a nice one with a hardback cover, something that you feel kind of you like the look of, and just write your thoughts in it. Do it daily. And that is the best way to rid those evil and destructive thoughts, because we're keeping them in our brain.
So do like a diary, basically.
Yeah, it's the most. I know I have a lot of male clients, and they are always kind of dismissive. Oh, don't be silly, Jade. I'm not going to keep a journal.
Yeah.
And they do it. They try it out, and they really like it because they're just getting out all this stuff out of their brain, and it can be good, bad, not necessarily all bad. But do a rating, like in the morning. How good am I feeling out of 1 to 10? Oh, today I'm feeling like a 7. And then reflect on that day when you wake up the next day, and those things are really helpful. And it's small stuff, isn't it?
I do find that when I write how I'm feeling down, it makes me feel like I've got a weight off my shoulders. But I don't necessarily send it. Like I'll do a voice, I'll be like ranting, but I don't necessarily send it. I just wanted to get it off my chest. that is a good idea to just write in a journal. Yeah.
But voice notes are good as well, because you could keep them on your phone and listen to them, because it's always good to reflect. I find that this day and age, we're all so quick, aren't we? Everything's so fast paced and we're always on the go and we don't reflect enough. And if we just were to listen to one of those voice notes or actually read one of those extracts, you might think, oh, wow, I've come a long way since last week or a month ago.
Yeah.
And that can feel really good and empowering.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good one. I do feel like I've heard that before. Yeah, like write down. I've been told before when I've done that whole thing where I feel like lots of people have done it, where I felt like not in a good place or felt really down or anxious, and I've like gone to Google and been like, Google, help me, fix me,
cure me.
And lots of them will say like, write down everything that you're like grateful for, like remember, because I feel like it's very hard when you're not feeling good. It's very, very, very easy to focus on all of the negatives in your life and not the positives. And that's just what I do. I'll like find all of the horrible things that are happening and not actually focus on like, I've got like amazing things around me, and I do have things that, some people wish that they could have. Like I always remember I was not feeling great a while ago, and I went to the NTAs, so like the National Television Awards, and obviously there's a big red carpet, and I got like dressed by this designer, this amazing dress flown over from like Israel, had my hair and makeup done, like had all of these pictures done. And I remember I was sitting watching this show, and I was sitting there and I was so sad, and I was thinking though, like I was thinking like, what's wrong with you? Like, you look where you are. Like, there are people that are watching this on TV that would dream one day that they could go to something like this. Like, and look where you are, look what you're doing. Like, why are you not happy? Be grateful for what you've got. But I feel like when you're in that mindset and you're not feeling good, you just cannot, no matter what, like you could have all these amazing things around you and you just can't get out of it. Like it's a scary place to be. It's horrible. And like I was fully aware that I was at this amazing event and in an amazing dress and having the most amazing night, but I could not, for whatever reason, instill that in my head and be like, yes, this is amazing, enjoy yourself. And I felt like just ungrateful and like it was just horrible. Like that.
Yeah, that's also, you're arguing if you're idiot. So basically you've got an animal brain and a midbrain, and they argue with each other. So you hear that voice in your head sometimes, like, oh, get a grip, you can do this. And sometimes like we put pressure on ourselves because we have this conflict in our head and we're arguing. And sometimes you just need to like let that voice come in and be like, okay, that's fine, I don't feel good today, and stop trying to put too much pressure on you to actually then suddenly have to feel good, because you're going from one extreme to the other then, aren't you? You need to kind of let that settle in. Okay, that's fine. Write down your bad thoughts or the good thoughts and just take your time. I think we all need to give ourselves some more time. Anxiety is a spectrum feeling. It could come in waves. It could be 5 minutes. It could be a long term, like the generalized anxiety.
Yeah, sometimes I get like a 3-second anxiety wave. I'm not even joking. And I'll say to George, oh my God, I just had like a thing of anxiety just hit me, and it's really weird. And then it will like just go away. And he even gets that as well. And he's not someone that like admits to his like he's just not someone that would not that anyone enjoys anxiety, but like he would just not really talk about it, or like he's not really open with stuff like that. And every now and then he'll go to me, oh, I just had a bit of anxiety, but it'll just be like a little bit.
Yeah, it's such a spectrum, isn't it? I think we all need to just stop being so hard on ourselves. That's the problem, isn't it? Like we always want to feel great, and sometimes naturally we're not always going to feel great. So I think and you need to find your triggers. It sounds like you've been up and down, both of you, like we all suffer, don't we? Ups and downs and waves, but we need to find out why are we feeling like that, and that's why the journal will be helpful.
But sometimes I feel like it's so hard to pinpoint why what triggers anxiety. I never know. I think what triggers me is when I do something that I'm worried about the outcome, when I don't know what the outcome's going to be. That's when I get anxiety.
I feel like for the most part, I sort of always realistically know why I'm feeling like the way I am. Like I usually know there's usually something that's happened or something I'm thinking about. But like it's like one of those things, there's nothing you can do about it. So
it kind of just comes on out the blue.
Yeah. But I always that's what people say like figure out exactly what it is. Like figure exactly what it is that's giving you this anxiety, and usually I can usually like I know exactly what it is, but there's no fixing that sort of thing, like it'll be one of those things like, but what I don't know what to do about it, like there's nothing I can do about it sort of thing.
I know what you mean. yeah, so it's done, that's fine, I've had it, so I want to know how to deal with it, basically. It's the coping mechanism, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fear of failure is a really common one, feeling that everyone gets it, is natural, but because you're worrying about the outcome that you can't predict because you can't control it. So it's that kind of fear of failure. But I think coping mechanisms is what this anxiety, this is how we overcome anxiety, is understanding how do we cope with it. That's what we need to kind of understand. But yeah, understanding where it comes from does help, because you then can know if you're in that position again, you can go straight to your coping mechanism then, rather than having to go through those horrible thoughts and that process.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love journaling. I think it's the best one.
What's number 2?
Number 2 is breathing exercises. So simple, and you can there's so many breathing exercises. You've got the diaphragm ones, the ones from the inside, and you've got your chest breathing exercises. I always go to this number 4, 7, 8 breathing exercise.
What's that?
So you inhale really quickly. So you exhale quickly, like that whoosh sound. Then you breathe in slowly for 4 seconds. Yeah, and then hold for 7 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then let go slowly for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And so does that control your anxiety? Because your heart rate is going so that controls your heart rate.
What was that? 4, 3, and 8.
Breath out.
4, 7, 8.
Yeah. So you always don't forget the first whoosh sound, to get your body in that kind of state, and then it's breathe in 4, kind of slowly. Hold for 7, and then exhale for 8.
That's quite a good one, because I feel like when I've got anxiety, I'm like, I don't think about my breathing at all. But if you've got your breathing under control, I guess that's why, in pregnancy, I know this is so random, but when you have contractions, you have to do special breathing techniques. So
true. Yeah. It's because it's all connected up, like your limbic system. So that's all the bits up here in your brain. You need to calm your brain, because you've got all this stress chemical going around called cortisol. That's the evil chemical that we don't want going around. You need to kind of get it out. So that's breathing. That's the kind of quick coping mechanism, I'd say, that you should think about when you are feeling anxious.
Yeah, that's a good one as well, because you can sort of do it on the move, like while you're driving, or if you're at work, even if you're in company, you can sort of do that quite it's discreet.
It's like a good control without people realising that you're having anxiety.
Yeah, because you could just do it secretly.
Yeah, easy. You could just be standing talking to people. So that is a good one. Yeah, I always feel people always say that as well, focus on your breathing. I feel like I know all these tips, I just never actually put them into place in my life. I need to actually think about it.
Yeah, they're all out there. They really are. But I think if you have a bank, that's why I could give you about 100, to be honest, because they're everywhere, aren't they? And I worked in a prison for a year with high risk murderers, rapists.
That's
honestly,
mental.
It was mental. Sorry, the sun's shining in.
I have your job? I would love to do that.
And I worked on death row in America as well, with death row people. And
my God, that's my favourite show.
And what did you have to do? Psychoanalyze them?
Well, I did a law degree to start with, so I worked over in Virginia, kind of defending death row inmates, and you learn a lot about people, and that's why I did psychology, because when you're dealing with people like that who are in prison all day, that have murdered someone, that have, you start to learn a lot about people, and that's where a lot of the things that I've found, developed over the years, they all differ from different people, because in the prison they really needed to de-stress and talk to me, and so you just learn all these different coping mechanisms, that everyone's different in all different environments.
Mental.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah,
that is so crazy. I love stuff like that. That must have been awful though. Did you ever lose people, talk to people that you maybe sort of, I know they probably did something terrible, but get a bond with, and then they died?
Well, no, actually I was really lucky. There was no deaths when I was working on death row. I just missed one, so just before I got there was an execution. But no,
how do they do it nowadays with an injection?
Yeah, it's an injection.
Yeah, lethal injection. Imagine
that just going into your arm and knowing that is about to shut you down.
But aren't they slowly make that? Not many places are doing that anymore. They're like a petition to stop doing that.
Isn't it just cruelty? Like Texas and all of those kind of places?
Yeah, Texas is like electric chair and firing squad still. It's mental. I went to Washington DC, so completely different. But they're all different around America. So
mental.
Wow.
I know, so it's another topic of conversation.
Yeah, I was about to say, maybe we need to get you on another time to talk about like crime and stuff like that. I love all stuff like that. I'm so interested.
It's like working in a prison that's where you learn about people. That's when you learn about real people. But then I've never thought, just because these people are in prison, that when someone comes to me for help, like while I'm coaching them, just because they're from an affluent background, had the best schooling, doesn't mean that they can't suffer either. Like we're all the same, despite what we might have gone through.
Yeah.
So that's what we're on, number 2.
We're on number 3 now. Yeah.
I think this is a really weird one, but I think it's really helpful and something to do on your own. It's to do with mirroring. So it's like stood in the bathroom when you're feeling really low about yourself and accepting yourself. So just looking at the mirror. This is a really difficult one for people to do, but it's just looking in the mirror and just saying, I like who I am. I know I'm not perfect. It's just that affirmation bit. But a mirroring ones have a really lot of kind of good research, but it's one to do on your own, like when you're not feeling very good. It's just accepting yourself. That's so
learning to accept who you are, basically. That one, I feel like that one's quite tough for people, isn't it? That's quite a deep
hard one.
Sometimes I do look in the mirror and I'm like, be positive today, Courtney, be positive. Does it work? Sometimes.
Maybe you're not doing it right.
I'm like, be positive. I'm like, don't have a breakdown.
You like shout at yourself.
I'm like, because when you're like during your period and you're like, every little thing niggles at you, I'm like, don't let it ruin your day. Be positive, be happy.
Yeah, I have like talked in the mirror to myself before, like trying to give myself a pep talk, but I find it quite like I'll end up like crying if I talk to myself in the mirror. I don't really know why. Well, because I find it's like quite like
that's self-esteem, that is. That's that's self-esteem. That's a trigger for anxiety as well, which is not a disorder. So anxiety is the disorder, and anxiety comes in loads of different other disorders, but self-esteem is actually not a clinical problem. It's actually just something that we all suffer from: low self-esteem, high self-esteem. So if you get good self-esteem, good low anxiety should happen.
Okay, so I've got a question actually, because sometimes people say like, like people that don't understand anxiety and stuff, they say, explain it. What is it? Do you know, like, how do you explain anxiety?
Yeah, I think a really simple way of explaining it is basically it's in the fear. Let's try and get a good explanation. So it's that feeling of fear and lack of control and not feeling like yourself, and just allowing it. I did write one down, which is a really good one that I found. Here we go. I'll read this one out. Anxiety is the mind and body's reaction to stressful, dangerous, or unfamiliar situations. It's a sense of an uneasiness and distress or dread. That's the simple way of just giving an example.
Which is what we get like. Say we'd go into like a scene when we was on Towie, and it would be like, we know it's going to be an argument, but we don't know what the outcome will be. We'd get really bad anxiety before a scene, wouldn't we?
Yeah, like couldn't eat.
I'm not. That's a tough show that you are on. Like, I can only imagine some of the situations that you're in. Like, that is perfectly normal. If you know you're going into it and you're going to have something's going to happen.
Especially like coming from like a background. I know Courtney was the same. Like before I went on Towie, I'd honestly I'd never argued with anyone other than like my brother. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd never been in like confrontational. I just wasn't that person. Like I never was one to fall out with my friends, or like, even in school, like there was like lots of those girls that like fall out and have all the fights, and I was just never like that. I was always just kind of like coasted along my life. Do you know what I mean? I always sort of like kept to myself just enough, like that.
Yeah.
But like surprisingly, we're not argumentative people.
No, but now we've had to learn. We've had to like learn to be like, argumentative.
Yeah, so it's like before, if someone said something that pissed me off, I'd probably just be like, oh, whatever, ignore it. But now I'm like, do you know what? No, I'm not having that, because that's just what for the last 6 years I've had to do, is just like turn around and be like, well, actually no, that's not right. Whereas normally before I'd be like, oh, whatever, don't care.
Yeah, with that, what I was like different. I would just like cry and get upset if someone said something horrible to me. And if you look on like early days of Towie, I literally just, if anyone ever like comes to me, it's like, God, I literally am just like, I just cry.
I watched it. I followed the show from like the get-go, and I've definitely if you look back, because I wouldn't perceive you as argumentative people, to be honest. I think there's a lot of prodding, wasn't there, and the characters that you probably had to interact with. But yeah, I think you're naturally both really nice girls.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we had to just learn to argue, and now I'm like, okay. Sometimes I have an argument with George now, and I think, don't start with me because I'm a professional arguer.
Great fashion. I love it.
It's literally my job.
So that's obviously that I think that, mind you must have changed so much as people, and that's probably why sometimes you do probably feel that it's all experience, isn't it? That's the thing, life is experience, and that's one thing these young adults have to realize, that they're going to go through these life changes, physiological changes. It's a tough environment out there.
Yeah, I've got a lot out of TOWIE, really, when I think about it. Like, it's made me so much stronger. It's made me, I was just a pushover when I was younger, like, and if people could just walk all over me, I'd have friends and they could like control me and, tell me what to do. And I was just a pushover. I just wanted an easy life. And I just, if someone told me to jump, I'd say how high. I was just always that person. And then TOWIE sort of has taught me to stick up for myself. So, I always think I thank TOWIE for that, because I wonder if I would have still been, I wonder if with age I would have got older and just learned to stick up for myself anyway, or if I just would have always been this, like, I was quite like a weak, like fumbling person. Do you know what I mean? I just was never like, and now,
it's very so much like you. I think everyone changes a girl, and that's one thing that I'm worried about the younger generation coming through, is the resilience. Like, they're so used to being a bit kind of in their comfort zones, and it's about stepping out of the comfort zone. And that's a good technique. This is a bit of a bigger one, but around anxiety, actually learning how to step out of your comfort zone, learning how to react to kind of that, because that's a big part of life. You can't cushion people, can we? Like, we have to learn how to get out of our comfort zone, go to that job interview, make new friends, and that's a big learning piece, is actually embracing that change.
Yeah. Should we move on to step 4?
Are we on 4? Well, that was kind of 4, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was 4. Let's do 5. I can finish off with a good one. So the last one I'd say is, so I could talk about growth mindset, fixed mindset, but again, that's quite a difficult one to really kind of learn. I go for something simple, really important. Everyone forgets to do it. It's carving out time in your diary just for you, and it's such a simple one, and everyone's probably heard about it. But I have, like, my fiance hates it. I have sacred Sunday, so I have like 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. is my time, and I'm like, if I don't get that time, you can piss off, because it really pisses.
So what do you do from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m? Just write in your diary?
Well, yeah, that sounds quite sad though, doesn't it? Just writing. But no, I usually, like, I can go to the gym, even if I can go like for a walk, I try to do something that is kind of gets my mind in a good place for Monday, because new week, new start, need to kind of get going. So it could be, or going to see friends, even if I want to have like just that time out, but I try to fill it with something positive, or go to the gym, because get the chemicals going, just something good, just for 2 hours, and it's just my time. Even a facial, a long bath, something like that,
just some you time.
It's really important. We don't do it enough.
I think for me, like, me time is really, I like walking and listening to music and stuff like that, like just walking around London. I find really therapeutic. I really love it. I love, like, I go on like walks for hours around London, or as well, like, this one's quite like probably a bit of a sad one, but I quite like like watching TV. I quite like escapism. I like watching like The Vampire Diaries,
it's a good way.
Bridgerton, or like something that's not real life, so that this is probably very personal because it's our job, but I don't really like watching reality TV. I find it makes me anxious, honestly. I don't know why.
Because we know what's going on, and we know exactly how they're feeling and what. I feel like we know what they do.
So I don't like, in my spare time, my time off, I don't actually like watching reality TV at all. I like watching something that's like completely like different to my life.
Different. That makes sense though, and I think we all need that time to ourselves, and like it's about calming down, isn't it? It's about having that escapism. Like, I if I have trouble sleeping, I listen to, this sounds weird, but the app with like rain noises and thunder.
I've tried that.
My friend listens to it all the time, and I fall asleep to it so easily. Although, to be fair, I sleep with a fan on every night, because I sleep to the sound of it. I can't sleep in a dead quiet room.
the humming sound, isn't it? It relaxes you. Yeah.
One of my friends once had this is really random. One of my friends once had a boyfriend, and he had to sleep with the hairdryer in his bed. Like, so the hairdryer would just blow up. Yeah, he like had loads, and he couldn't sleep without this noise of the hairdryer. It's very strange, isn't it?
That's like babies sleep to white noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's quite comforting, isn't it? I don't know what it does. I don't actually know what that does to us in terms of noise, but I think it's based to chill out our kind of like the limbic system, which I keep mentioning, the calming. But I love that thunder noise. It sounds weird, but I love that.
If I'm in a dead quiet room, I feel like my mind would be going 100 miles an hour. But because I'm in a room with noise with the fan on, I feel like I get distracted.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I guess like our mind is so busy, isn't it, with thoughts all the time, and I think it's good to have something else to focus on. Focus is a massive thing about anxiety. Focusing on what the present, what's not happening at like what can't we control. It's about the here and now, and that's what a lot of people don't do, is focus on what they're doing now.
Yeah, that's so true. I feel like someone said this to me, and I think it's so true. The only thing in life you can control is yourself. So like, don't worry about other people or what they're doing, or like, the only thing you can control is yourself. You can control nothing else and no one else. So just
we're in our own world.
Yeah.
Like we can't, I'm not in your world right now. I don't know what's going on with you. Like, we're all in our own little world. And we have to realize that it's only us that we can control. We can't control someone else's reaction or what they do. We're in our own little like planets, aren't we, really?
Yeah.
So that's a really
good crazy when you think about it like that.
It's like we have our own rules.
Yeah. My friend was saying to me the other day, she's quite deep. She says like quite deep stuff. She said, don't you think it's mad? Like, you'll never actually, like, I've been with my boyfriend for years, but she was like, but you'll never actually know, like, you never actually know what he's thinking. Like, or like, she's like, even like your mum and your dad, like, you've known them your whole life, and you know them on the surface, but she was like, you'll never actually know what's going on in their head, never, unless they tell you. How do you even trust what they're saying is true? Like, you never actually know anyone. It's really, really strange.
I know. When you start, me and my friends have these deep conversations all the time, and it's always me starting them off, but I completely agree. Like, we can only control ourselves. Like, we only know ourselves, don't we?
Yeah.
And then when you're growing up, you don't actually know yourself. There's a stat to say that you don't actually know who you are until your 30s. Like, you actually don't know who you are because you've got all these life experiences.
I mean, I'm only like a month and a half in, so, but I do feel like, I mean, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. I could definitely, when I think about like my young 20s, even lots of my 20s, I was so lost. Like, I didn't even necessarily know it, but I was just completely lost. I was just like stumbling through. I didn't know who I was. I didn't like trust my own opinion. I didn't really, I sort of knew some things I liked, but wasn't really sure. Like, like I just was just so.
That's just me now.
Yeah.
That is me now. I'm still stumbling across my 20s, having no clue about anything. I don't just off what anyone else is doing. I'm like, oh, okay. Is that what we're doing?
You don't know who you are. Like, your identity comes in later. It really does. Like,
I'm excited for it to kick in.
Yeah, but mine definitely started like, I think like 28, I started to really just, I think we were talking about this the other day as well. It came with sort of like confidence. Like, I just sort of got to this stage where I just kind of accepted myself, and I was like, this is who I am. This is what I look like. Like, if you don't like it, then cool. Like, you do just kind of get to that place. Whereas I just was not there at all before. But yeah, you just kind of, it's almost like kind of all of a sudden as well, you just start to feel a bit, just a bit more settled in yourself.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the 5 points onto a sheet so everyone can remember what the bullet points were.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. I think it'd be really useful for everybody.
Yeah, and I feel like we should get you back on talking about other things as well, because I know that you do, it's quite broad, isn't it, what you do, like lots of other things as well. Do you do anything to do with like do you work with like young adults and stuff on like dealing with their mindset and stuff like that? Yeah, I feel like there are some other subjects we could definitely get you back on.
Yeah, we can look at it, because I work with a whole range of people, and I contract. I'm like all over the place really, but I do a lot of different areas of mindset, flourishing, coping with change. There's so many different areas in my job that I work with, so we can definitely talk about what might be useful.
Coping with change is a good one. That is definitely a really good one. No, it was amazing. It was lovely to meet you. Thank you for that. It was so interesting.
No, thank you for inviting me on. I've had a lovely time. Thank you.
We will definitely get you back on. There's so many things we need to cover.
Yeah, well, good luck, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mwah.